we do terrible things that would merit us from losing God's love. He loves us anyway. On the second day, we talked about Jesus. There are a lot of similarities between Joseph and Jesus. Joseph was the favorite son of his father, but Jesus is also the beloved son of God also. So we talked about a lot of the similarities that happened there, but we talked about what happened with Jesus, how he, even though he's stronger than anything else, he submitted and died on a cross to pay the penalty for our sin. So even when we do terrible things wrong, we talked about how the punishment is actually death and separation from God. But Jesus, in love, took that punishment for us, for all the wrong things that we've done. So we were able to learn the greatest story ever told. On day 3, we wrapped up the Joseph story. So all the kids at the palace, we were distributing food, so we got to have them come in and hear the resolution of the Joseph story. How God used a terrible thing to promote Joseph to a place of highness in the Egyptian government and to actually save the whole place from a famine. So by obeying God in that high place of government, he was able to save the entire country. So God used a terrible, terrible thing to bring out good for the whole country. And there was resolution with him and his family. So we learned that God is surprising. So even when we don't deserve a great thing to happen, he brings them too. So we learned lots of great things about God through the narrative of the Joseph story and through Jesus. So, yeah. But we're going to go ahead and watch a slideshow, right? Cool. So we've got some pictures from throughout the 3 nights. So we will go and play that.
God's love never fails and it lasts forever. Our God is great. Our God is great. My God is with me. Yes, he's with me wherever. Our God is great. Our God is great. He's an awesome God. Bigger than my wildest dreams. Monumental love. Eternal love for you and me. 'Cause he's an awesome God. Our God's an awesome God. God is in charge and he watches over me. Our God is great. Our God is great. My God is strong and will never let go of me. Our God is great. Our God is great. He's an awesome God. Bigger than my wildest dreams. Monumental love. Eternal love for you and me. 'Cause he's an awesome God. Our God's an awesome God. Yeah. Our God is great. Our God is awesome. Celebrate. Celebrate. Our God is great. Our God is awesome. Celebrate. Celebrate. He's an awesome God. Bigger than my wildest dreams. Monumental love. Eternal love for you and me. 'Cause he's an awesome God. Bigger than my wildest dreams. Monumental love. Eternal love for you and me. 'Cause he's an awesome God. Our God's an awesome God. Our God's an awesome God.
Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed the pictures and videos. We had some different crafts that we did, games, story, and then music, which I'm going to let you guys get a glimpse at some of the songs we sang at VBS. So if I could have all the kids come up front, and I'm going to have any helpers that were here too. Come on up too. Helpers too. Helpers. Come on. All right. Do you guys think you can stand on the stage, or do you need to watch the video? If you think you can stand on the stage, I'll let you stand on the stage, and we'll perform.
Can we also watch a video?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. All right, so we're going to do the song Awesome God. It was one of my favorites that we did this week. So I hope you guys enjoy.
Yeah. Here we go. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Every second, every minute, every hour, every day. Oh God, you are in charge. Every moment on this journey, every step that I will take. Oh God, you are in charge. I trust you through everything. With all of my heart that you hold in, I know you got this. I trust you through everything. With all of my heart that you hold in, I know you got this. Every mountain, every valley, every sea and every sky. Oh God, you are in charge. You're my Father, you're my Savior, you're the Lord of my life. Oh God, you are in charge. I'll trust you through everything. With all of my heart that you're holding, I know you got this. with all of my heart that you hold it. I know you got this. When I wake up in the morning and the sun is shining and I lift my head up the pillow, I know that God is in charge. Yeah, God is in charge. And when the stars come shining and moon starts rising and I lay my head on the pillow, I know that God is in charge. God is in charge. See everybody. When I wake up in the morning and the sun is shining and I lift my head on the pillow, I know that God is in charge. Yeah, God is in charge. When the stars come shining and the sun starts rising and I lay my head on the pillow, I know that God is in charge. God is in charge. I trust you through everything with all of my heart that you hold it. I know you got this. I trust you through everything with all of my heart that you hold it. I know you got this.
Have you ever felt like that? You know, I had two sisters and a brother, and sometimes we acted like Joseph's brothers with each other. So, what else do we know about Joseph? He had a pretty coat. Yeah, pretty coat. And he had a dream. And he had a dream that all the shocks of wheat in the field bowed down to him, and all the stars in the sky bowed down to him. And Joseph's brothers didn't like that because that meant that Joseph was more important than them. Let's see. So the brothers wanted to get rid of Joseph, so they wanted to kill him, but they didn't, so what'd they do? What, Annie? Threw him in an empty well. Yeah. And then what happened there? Yeah. Got something about animals, right? Something about animals. Yeah, what? Yeah, 20 shekels. They sold him into slavery. Bunch of traders going from one country to another came by and they sold him. And they took him to what country? Egypt, right. And that's where most of the story of Joseph takes place, is in the land of Egypt. Land of Egypt has some interesting monuments, right? The kind of triangle-shaped things, they are called the pyramids. And so the theme of VBS was monuments or monumental, right? So have you ever been to Mount Rushmore? You know where that's at? Where's Mount Rushmore? It's in South Dakota. It's kind of like driving across Kansas, only with the more hills. And in Mount Rushmore, there are carved into stone on that mountain some famous faces. So that's one kind of a monument. You know what is down by the Mississippi River in St. Louis? That's an arch. There is a monument, but that monument is much newer than the pyramids of Egypt. Monuments are kind of interesting because they tend to indicate something of significance. So, what do you think ever happened to Joseph? Well, let me read what happened to Joseph. By the way, do you know how old Joseph was when he passed away? I'll tell you. Now, Joseph stayed in Egypt. Imagine that. He's sold into slavery and he stays there most of his life. He and his father's household, and Joseph lived 110 years. It's pretty old. And Joseph saw the third generation of Ephraim's sons, also the sons of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were born on Joseph's knees. And Joseph said to his brothers, I'm about to die, but God will surely take care of you and bring you up from this land to the land which he promised on oath to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Then Joseph made the sons of Israel swear, saying, God will surely take care of you, and you shall carry my bones up from here. Yep, Joseph died. Hey, if you give me, there you go. There's Joseph's tomb. It's outside the city of Jerusalem in a town called Nablus. Nablus. And that's a very important place for the children of Israel and of Jews today. That's a very important place. That's almost a monument for them. It's a place to remember their patriarch who helped to deliver them in a famine. So there's some interesting things, as Noah said this morning when he was reviewing the lessons you learned about. There are some interesting parallels between Joseph and Jesus. First parallel would probably be the parallel of conflict. Conflict. You know, Joseph's brothers didn't like him. They wanted to get rid of him. John chapter 1 verse 12 says that Jesus came to his own people and they didn't receive him. He came to his own and they received him not. They didn't like him. In fact, what did they want to do to Jesus? They wanted to kill him too. Joseph has a roller coaster life. He's up, and then bad things happen and he's down. And then good things happen and he's up, and then bad things happen and he's down. And then good things happen and he's up, and then bad things happen and he's down. Kind of like our lives. Everything doesn't run all the time up here, and it doesn't run all the time down here, and it doesn't run in a straight line. What's interesting in the songs we sang is that we are reminded that God is always in charge, even when things don't go like we think they should. So not only was there conflict with Joseph and his brothers, there's conflict in life. Things go wrong. And yet, Joseph trusts God. So the first parallel would be the conflict, both in Joseph's life and the life of Jesus. Second, the casualty. The casualty. Originally, Joseph's brothers wanted to do him in. And they were ready to kill him. In fact, they created a scenario in which it looked like he'd been attacked by a wild animal and had died. One of Joseph's brothers said, no, we can't do that. Let's just get rid of him by selling him into slavery. Just as Joseph is the casualty of the hatred of his brothers, Jesus is the casualty of the world's hatred of God. And dear Joseph goes into bondage. The casualty. Joseph eventually dies of old age, dies because his body is deteriorating because the effects of sin have taken hold on his body. But it's interesting that Jesus is different from Joseph in that he doesn't die of old age, he dies willingly. He gives himself and his life for us. I want to read you a bit about Joseph. When Joseph got out of prison and was appointed second in position in all the land of Egypt, he was given a different name. In Genesis 41 and verse 45, Pharaoh named Joseph Zaphanath-Paneah. And Pharaoh gave him Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, a priest of On, as his wife. And Joseph went forth over the land of Egypt. Now it's interesting that all through Joseph's life, he honors God. And yet here, what happens? He gets a different name from a different king in a different land, and he has an Egyptian wife. Wrong land, wrong king, wrong road, wrong life. Yes, God did watch over Joseph. Yes, God did walk with Joseph through the ups and downs of his life. But let's think a little bit about the outcome of Joseph. Now you remember that Joseph takes the dream of the 7 cows and the fat cows, and the fat cows eat, the lean cows eat the fat cows. The 7 lean cows are 7 years of famine. The 7 fat cows are years of bountiful harvest. And Joseph says to Pharaoh, the 7 good years we need to store up grain because there's a famine coming. And sure enough, the famine comes. And then after Joseph gets a new name in a new country, in a new walk of life, and a new life, what happens? The famine comes. Now, the year before the year of the famine came, 2 sons were born to Joseph, whom Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, a priest of On, bore to him. Joseph named the firstborn Manasseh. Verse 52 says he named the second son Ephraim. Pharaoh given Joseph an Egyptian name, but Joseph didn't name his children Egyptian names. He named them Hebrew names. Now listen to why Joseph himself says he gave his 2 children Hebrew names. Verse 51, he said, Joseph named the firstborn Manasseh, for God has made me forget all my trouble and all my father's household. Have you ever had somebody do something to you, do wrong to you, and it made you upset? It hurt you? You didn't like them? You wanted to get even? Do you suppose Joseph had that mindset? I'm pretty sure Joseph's just like you and me. If my brother wanted to sell me into slavery, and he did sometimes, and so did my sisters, I would remember that. I'd remember that and I wouldn't let go. But Joseph teaches us a very important lesson here, doesn't he, about